Hello, you are listening to Dr. Sushma Singh in Unit 2 Change, Modernization and Development. We will start today's topic of development conditions and barriers. Under this topic, we are going to start awareness. Surplus social energy collects as potential beneath the surface, accumulating until it acquires sufficient force to burst out in new activities. But the mobilization of this energy for action depends on fulfillment of a second essential condition, that is awareness. Awareness of new development opportunities and challenges. Societies that are fully consumed by the struggle for survival have little time or inclination to direct their attention toward to observe what other societies are accomplishing or forward to envision new possibilities. When life reaches a certain level of stable comfort, societies become increasingly interested in and aware of what is going on in the world around them. This awareness may also be thrust on a society by the unwanted intrusion of an external influence. The influx of English manufactured goods into the pre-industrial economies of Europe and the arrival of the modern armed American fleet in Tokyo harbor in the 19th century both had the effect of awakening societies to the opportunities and challenges of development and stimulating them to respond. The increasing pace of development is directly linked to an increase in the speed and reliability of information about what is taking place in other parts of the country, region, and world due to improvements in the communication and transportation. The proliferation of books and newspapers following the invention and diffusion of the printing press and the growth of international shipping following the invention of navigation aids beginning in the 15th century, the growth of railways, telegraph and telephones in the 19th century, and impact of radio, film, television, computers and satellite technology in the 20th century have exponentially multiplied the dissemination of information and the general level of social awareness. Today, more than 60,000 newspapers are published around the globe, including 8,000 dailies, with a combined circulation of 500 million and an estimated readership of 1.5 billion people. Now let us move to the next point, aspiration. Society must also feel a strong aspiration or felt need for achievement at a higher level that will spur efforts to convert our perceived possibilities into a material reality. Social development is an expression of social will seeking to elevate the performance of the collective. As society becomes more conscious of the external environment and its own internal potentials, its aspiration and will for progress increases. The greater the knowledge of its potentials, the greater the aspiration. Failure to respond to opportunities arising around of a sense of social superiority or social inferiority are expressions of a common principle. People respond to the example of those with whom they identify socially. When there is awareness of a developmental achievement by one belonging to the same social and cultural context, it can evoke a powerful urge for accomplishment in society. When the achievement is by one who lies outside the context, it is often ignored. Thus, the adoption of new crops and cultivation practices by a wealthy farmer may not lead to similar behavior by smaller farmers in the same community. Age, social status, class, caste, wealth, occupation, and other factors help define social identity. But this trend seems to drastically change in the contemporary period. There was a time when different societies, classes, and groups within societies differed widely in the extent to which they manifested as aspiration for development. This is no longer true. Over the past 5 decades, both awareness of the possibilities and the release of the aspiration for development have been spreading rapidly from one country and level of society to another. Harlan Cleveland coined the phrase revolution of rising expectations to describe this phenomena which he observed in Eastern Asia in the early 1950s. Since the end of colonialism and the diffusion of democracy, this revolution has circled the globe and ignited a clamor for education, higher levels of consumption, and opportunities for advancement among billions of people. The universal awakening of this urge for progress is another compelling reason why the speed of development is increasing so rapidly. This principle has important implications for planned development efforts. It implies that efforts by government to initiate development will only be successful in the areas where the necessary social urge and preparedness already exist. Many well-conceived development initiatives fail to catch on or go awry because the leaders try to accomplish what the population has not yet come to aspire for. In these instances, the planned initiative can only contribute to the preparing the society for readiness at some future date, but will not generate immediate results. Now let us move to the next point, barriers to development. Consequently, there are certain barriers to development. Observations of social progress reveal three recurring types of obstacles to development: limited perception, outdated attitudes, and anachronistic behavior. Let us briefly look at each of them. The first is perceptual walls and apparent dead ends. One of the most striking characteristics of development, discernible in all periods, countries, and fields of activities, has been the inability of society to envision of or foresee its own future destiny. This attribute is usually accompanied by the contrary tendency to perceive opportunities as insurmountable obstacles. Innumerable times in history, humanity has come face to face with what it believed was a dead end to progress, only to discover sooner or later a way around or through the dead end to open up a wider field of opportunities. Today, powerful perceptions barriers exist with regard to employment, technology, trade, environment, corruption, inflation, and population that represent very real barriers to development the world over. Malthus, the great demographer, was not the only one to foresee imminent doom where in fact there was enormous opportunity. In 1950, Holland's population exceeded 5 million, reaching a destiny that many believed approached the ultimate limits that this tiny landmass could support. Today, the Netherlands has 5 million people, almost 3 times the population density, yet it ranks among the most prosperous nations in the world and is a major food exporter. In the mid 1960s, India suffered from 2 successive years of drought and was on the verge of severe famine. An expert team sent to India by the Food and Agricultural Organization of United Nations estimated that the country's food grain production would rise only by a maximum of 10% before 1970. Many of our Indian scientists share this pessimistic view. Actually, grain production rose 50% during this period and doubled within a decade to make our country self-sufficient in food grains. Had our leaders shared the view of the experts, the Green Revolution may never have been attempted. Errors in assessment of future possibilities occur when we make projections of future performance on the basis of the historical trend. Even though the changing circumstances have radically altered the environment, looking forward, we often see apparently insurmountable obstacles to future progress. Looking backward, we discover continuity and progress. History has shown time and again that there are no dead ends. Only people who are unable to see the opportunities and solutions concealed behind the immediate obstacles. Here we want to close this lecture. Thanks for listening.